Where are you placing your trust? Black and white, no grays. Dig deep. It's a hard question to answer. And it's hard because the ifs, well, they're just that. They're ifs. We don't know. This would be easier to answer if we knew the outcomes, if we could see what's coming. Yet, that's not faith, is it? Hey there. Are you a Christian woman who's ready to strengthen your faith and stop the madness in your mind? The worry, doubt, anxiety. Do you want something more for your life but are not sure where to even begin? You've come to the right place. Hi, I'm Kristin Campbell. I'm excited that you're here as we journey together to discover mindset renewal and empowered faith for the Christian woman. There are definite themes that have come up whenever I'm working with clients and in my own life as well. These are tactics that the enemy uses to just mess with our minds, with our emotions. These are things that he tries to use to keep us out of the truth of who we are and who God is. And over time, I've come to recognize some of the most common ones, the ones that are used quite often, and they're used because, well, they work. They work really well. So, he's probably thinking, why fix what's not broken, But one of these frequent flyer tactics deals with the ifs in life. And I want us to explore this a little bit more today. And I will be coming back to this topic again and again. And I want to hit it from all different angles because I've just found that once is not enough. I'm talking about being freed from the what ifs and the if onlys that torment us. And how do we then move into the only real if statement that is going to lead us to Jesus? So for many years, really, as long as I really can remember, I have lived with what some would call high functioning anxiety. And, I realize that's not a true medical diagnosis. It's just a term for describing people who act, like me. So, I appeared to have my life in order. People would look at me and be like, wow, she's got it together. I was always early. I was very conscious of my appearance. If something was due, it was on time. Well, actually, it was early because I felt on time was late. I was very organized. I kept schedules for everything. I was always offering to help. Even though my motivation was wrong, I was always offering to help. And I was always uber prepared. I had backup plans B, C, and D for everything. Just going to the store, I had a backup plan just in case all of these what ifs happened. And inside, oh my goodness, I would overthink every little detail of every single thing. I was constantly looking for validation, constantly overanalyzing people and their reactions to me, their eye movements, their tones, their body language, how they shifted their legs. Oh my goodness. I was so afraid to fail. And I was constantly 24/7, 365. I was cycling between what if thoughts, which would plunge me into this deep worry and anxiety. And then I would kind of cycle into beating myself up with if only thoughts, which then caused me to be depressed and angry. And this just never really stopped. And I was not aware that not everyone did this. Okay, it was like a major light bulb moment when I learned that other people didn't have this crazy overthinking cycle going on in their heads 24/7. Because for me, it was normal. It was just how our brains operated, or so I thought. And, I just figured that if I made better choices, I'd get to a place of being okay, where I could, relax. And honestly, I didn't even really have a good frame of reference for what that word relax meant. But I just kept going in this major hyper vigilance, this self-hatred, and this worry, this what if this happens? Or, oh my gosh, what if that happens? And oh my God, oh, if only I didn't say this, or if only I didn't do this, or if only this didn't happen. And are you getting exhausted just listening to this? Imagine living it. I was exhausted. I was depressed. I was anxious. I was angry. It was messy. And maybe you already know. And if you are relating to this right now, there is hope. There is freedom. It will happen. It may take time, but every step that you take, it's going to get so much better. Because now I have such a joy that's not dependent on all of those ifs. And, I can look at most of those things now and laugh. Now. But it was a journey. So where do we begin? We need to be very clear and call worry out for what it is: a lack of trust in God. That's it. This is very black and white. And I know we all love to hang out in the gray area, but you can't here. We are told all throughout the Bible not to worry because it takes your trust off of God. And listen, I've heard it all. I've said it all. I'm Italian. That's what we do. I'm a mother. I should worry. I'm a fill in the blank. No more. If you're a Christian, worry is what you don't. And why not? Because ultimately, what are you trying to accomplish with your worrying? Are you trying to control the outcome according to your knowledge and your plan? And please, I'm not bashing on you because I did this for years and I still get snared from time to time. I know it's not done in any malicious way, which is why it's so sneaky. We tend to only really worry about the things that are important to us, at least for the most part. And yet it's the things most important to us where God is asking, do you trust me? Because it's in those things where we have the opportunity to enter a deeper level of faith, enter into a deeper relationship with the Lord. And man, it pisses the enemy off. I mean, I'm sorry for my language, but Satan does not want us to have that closeness with the Lord. He knows the Lord is trustworthy. He doesn't want us to know it, though. So the bombs come. What if your son turns to drugs? What if that freckle is cancer? What if you didn't lock the door all the way? What if I lose my job? What if? What if? What if? Boom, boom, boom. And our typical first response is to go into action or worry, because we deceive ourselves into believing that somehow if we keep thinking about these things, a magical solution will appear and just take it all away. Or we can get ahead of it somehow, because if we prepare enough, we will be fine. See, that was my belief. Yet I never reached enough. I desperately tried to control the outcomes, and I rarely had success. And so many times I wanted to help God out, just in case he didn't realize or remember some aspect that was important to the situation. And, here I am saying it out loud, and it's comical. Because if you think about it, this is the God who knows the exact number of hairs on my head at any given moment. And yet I think somehow he's not going to be aware of an important factor pertaining to my situation. It doesn't make sense. The truth is, I didn't trust that what God was going to allow to happen to me or to my kids or to my husband, I didn't trust that it would be good for us. I trusted more in my understanding of how I believed life should go for us than I did in God's plan. And when all was said and done, black and white, I trusted more in myself than God. So into worry and anxiety I went for many, many years. And my question for you, where are you placing your trust? Black and white, no grays. Dig deep. It's a hard question to answer. And it's hard because the ifs, well, they're just that. They're ifs. We don't know. This would be easier to answer if we knew the outcomes, if we could see what's coming. Yet, that's not faith, is it? Faith says whatever happens is from God, so it will be good. Faith doesn't ask any more details about what that whatever is or when exactly it will turn to good. It just stands firmly on God's character and his promises. And while that all sounds great, how? So I'm going to share with you what's worked for me. And again, I'm going to be coming back to this over and over because, man, I can talk about this for a long time. But I want to give you the main strategy that I used and that I use. Because again, as long as you are thinking, your brain, your mind, your thoughts, they're going to be attacked. So this isn't a one and done. This is a practice that we put into place. So the first thing is I don't ignore the what-ifs because they are coming from some level of concern or care. So if you remember, most of the what-ifs pertain to something that's important to us. And, just shoving them aside does nothing but delay them. However, I do not entertain them. I just usher them along to Jesus. And I get really, really honest with him. And I always think of David in the Psalms. I just love him. He was brutally honest with the Lord. And he is referred to as a man after the Lord's heart. I encourage you to follow his example. Read the Psalms. Read how he just, boom, brings it all before the Lord. And that's what we want to do. The Lord knows anyways. So bringing all of these fears, all of these worries, all of these thoughts, bringing them to light. Bring them before the Lord. And I say, this is what I'm worried about. I'm not equipped to handle this. I need your help, Lord. And then I start talking with the Lord. I start asking him, what am I most afraid of in this? What's the worst case scenario here? And I write it all out, whether it makes sense or not, because sometimes our worst case scenarios that just really have that grip on us, when we write them down and look at them, we're like, oh, that doesn't even make sense. But if we don't bring them to light, they stay in that torment mode. So I ask, what is it? What is it? And I get all that information. Now, I don't dwell on it. I don't set up camp here and go into this pity party or, deeper into anxiety. I just use that information. I use that information to my advantage, because then I begin to ask, can I trust you with this worst case scenario? Can I trust you, Lord? Can I give this to you? And this is a loaded question. First of all, it's, am I capable? Is our relationship there yet, God? Am I able to give this to you? Can I trust you? Do I know you, your character, as trustworthy? And can I really let this go? Can I surrender this? And finally, when I get to the place of being able to say yes, which I need to be real transparent here, depending on the size of the what if, it may take a while. Okay? But once you get to that point, what I do is I reframe that what if. I renew that thought. Okay? And here's the only if that I have found leads me to Jesus. I mentioned this earlier. And it's even if my son turns to drugs, God, you have a good plan for his life. You have called him by name. He is yours. Even if this freckle is cancer, God, you are my healer and my strength, my comfort and my song. Even if I lose my job, God, you are my provider. You will not allow me to lack any good thing. And I echo Habakkuk, that fun little book in the Bible. But what he says in chapter 3 is he says, even though, and he lists all these calamities that can happen. He says, even though, yet I will take joy in the Lord. Trusting in the Lord leads to joy. Trusting in yourself leads to anxiety. You have the choice. Are you willing to take your what ifs to the Lord, surrendering your control over them, bringing the fears to light, and trusting in the Lord to bring about his good plan for your life in his timing? 1 Peter 5, 6-7 sums this up. It says, therefore, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you at the proper time, casting all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you. And he does. Oh, He cares for you beyond your understanding. He is faithful to His promises for your life. Will you trust Him? Thank you for listening to today's podcast. I hope you walked away a little stronger in your faith and freer in your mind. You are so loved. If you like this episode, share it with a friend. Leave your ratings and reviews, and engage with me on social media. I'd love to hear from you.